Game Boy Advance.
America Karakimashita Dragon Ball Z, The Legacy of Goku 2.
You know, for a long time I wasn't sure what it was about the Legacy of Goku games that alerted me when I was a kid. After so many years of seeing people trash on these games, I finally returned to the series, and these games just give off such early 2000s nostalgia vibes. Clean pixel art, good music, and a mostly faithful retelling of the original anime is all I ever really needed to enjoy myself. These games are also unique in that they are JRPGs based off of an anime, yet the games were actually developed in America, and only the second game ever had an international release. Earlier this year, I hopped on a call with the Legacy of Goku 2 world record holder Glitch, and commentated over the Legacy of Goku 1 and 2 TASes, and you guys really enjoyed it, so I decided to make Buu's Fury its own dedicated video. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I hope you all enjoy. This game opens up detailing the events from the previous Legacy of Goku game with the Z Fighters battle against Cell. However, text mashing in this game is pretty nutty, so I don't think we'll be seeing too many text boxes. All you need to know is Cell is dead, Goku is dead, and there's a floating purple brain in the sky with a pink menace inside it. We start out the game as Goku, who's headed to the Otherworld tournament, accompanied by King Kai, Bubbles, and Gregory, who all died with Goku during Cell's explosion. From here we speak to King Yama, and board a first-class jet to Grand Kai's planet. What's nice is this tutorial is accessed by speaking to the surrounding NPCs, so if we don't speak to them, we don't have to learn anything. But it is important to grab these 1-ton armbands and boots. Equipment is a new addition to this series, and while weighted clothing does impact run speed, it greatly increases experience gained, which is extremely useful due to how much grinding is required to open up skill doors. Movement in this game is pretty straightforward, and by that I mean literally if you dash in this game, you run forward while only being able to slightly strafe side to side, with a full stop required to make sharp turns. Combat is simple too, as this game is essentially a beat 'em up, but there are plenty of ways to optimize DPS, like we see the TAS doing in the background by hitting multiple enemies at the same time. During combos there's also potential to crit, which could make the difference between finishing an enemy off one hit sooner. After clearing through the first area, when you start farming for experience to open an upcoming level door. I'm sure a lot of you who played this as kids came up with a similar routine, as we'll need to rinse and repeat this 11 times for level 70. At some point during the grind we can spend stat points Goku has accumulated and dump them into his strength to one-shot the enemies. This is very different from the previous game, as in that game we would need to use RNG manipulation for favorable stat spreads, but in this one you can just dump everything into whichever stat you want. This is another reason why I think this game is absolutely busted, not just because of the glitches, but because with this system you're able to dump all the stat points into strength up to whatever the character's current level is. This allows for damage outputs that don't look intended, but I guess they are. Anyways, following this grind we'll beat up Evil Buu, and then use Goku's instant transmission to warp to the door, and then use it again to solve a puzzle. During the Otherworld tournament, we watch back some of the fights from the show, until it's time for the showdown between Goku and Pecan. And the fight's already over, thus concluding the filler arc tutorial section. Hey guys, I'd like to take a quick break in the action to give a special thanks to today's video sponsor, JetRunner. JetRunner is a brand new first-person shooter platformer with gameplay similar to Neon White. In this game we play as newcomer athlete Nina White in the intense sport known as jet running, where competitors are made to scale obstacle courses and reach the goal as fast as possible. So in other words, this game is pretty much made for speedrunning, as there are tons of different movement options in this game, allowing for many different opportunities for completing objectives and reaching goals. Honestly, even the gold medal time trial challenges in this game are pretty tricky, and you can get a ton of playtime trying to go for them. And then of course, if you want to take it to the next level, this game has some pretty impressive speedruns on the leaderboards, which take the mechanics to the next level, using backwards facing punches to gain momentum, propelling runners to the end of each section. If you guys are interested in checking out JetRunner, I'll have a link in the description to their Steam page, where it's being sold for only $20. Thanks again to JetRunner for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the speedrun. Back at Goku's house on Earth, Gohan is preparing for his first year at high school, as we see him sprinting through the house at breakneck speeds out of sheer excitement. Chi-Chi would definitely not approve. However, before exiting, Flint goes out of his way to grab a Lazarus crystal out of a chest to sell for later. Outside, Chi-Chi gives us some milk and a rice ball, and we head to Satan City on Nimbus. As he arrives, he stumbles upon some criminals robbing a bank, so just like in the show, Gohan goes Super Saiyan. And then, does some shopping. Here he'll sell Gohan's packed lunch, the Lazarus crystal, and a cotton gi that was picked up earlier for 3200 zenny. Going Super Saiyan before entering the shop saves a bit of time, not just due to the faster run speed, but also because Gohan goes Super Saiyan automatically for this fight anyways to conceal his identity from the public, so we might as well do it now. Then Gohan takes out the bank robbers. Afterwards, Gohan bumps into Videl, and we mosey on over to class. After school, we'll be transported back to the entrance of Satan City, and can use a nearby flight pad to access the world map. From here, we'll head to West City to visit Bulma to make Gohan his Great Saiyaman disguise. Upon entering Capsule Corp, we'll first grab this capsule, and then head back outside to deliver it to Bulma to make the suit. After returning to Satan City, Gohan transforms into Great Saiyaman, and starts taking out any nearby enemies while on his way to the school. During Gohan's next class, the mayor is kidnapped by the leader of the Red Shark Gang and his goons, so of course the city contacts an unarmed 16-year-old girl to go take on an entire weaponized criminal gang by herself. Gohan follows behind shortly afterwards to rescue her. Before this fight, Flint will dump Gohan's bonus points on strength, as well as magically steal Goku's training armbands and boots from the Otherworld. Upon confronting the bandits, Videl gets brutally destroyed. Surely the only time that happens, and Gohan steps in to help. For this fight, Flint makes use of Gohan's Masenko to shoot balls out in front of him to clear some of the enemies quicker, which is perfect because he ends his fight with a level up, restoring Gohan's ki to full anyways. In the next section, Gohan recognizes a baby pterodactyl kidnapped by the Musica Circus. But by running around the opposite direction, it's actually possible to skip this dialogue, which actually makes the game slightly more canon, as this is definitely not how Gohan learned about Chobi's disappearance. Once at the circus, Flint will begin another level grind, taking advantage of using Gohan's Super Saiyan status, combined with witty gear and multi-hits on these huge guys. As Gohan levels up, Flint will continue to add even more points onto his strength, making each return quicker and quicker as he goes on. After 8 repetitions, Gohan is mostly exhausted to Super Saiyan status, so it's time to pick up Chobi, forcing an automatic transformation into Great Saiyaman. As Gohan escapes the circus, Mr. Musica calls for a literal tank to stop him. But with Gohan's strength pretty much capped out, it's dealt with quickly for some easy XP. Also, upon exiting the area, a clone Musica and Chobi are still waiting there, which is hilarious. But even still, this doesn't prevent the game from moving forward, and we release Chobi back to his parents. Videl tricks Gohan into revealing his identity, and blackmails him into entering the World Martial Arts Tournament as a showdown between the kin of tournament champions. Keep in mind, Videl at this point has watched Gohan snatch an entire bus full of people out of the air and repel a rocket backwards using only the Force. But yeah, it should be a close fight for sure. Goku also announces that he'll be returning to Earth for one day to participate in the tournament as well. He gives Gohan a quest to tell everyone he's returning for the tournament, but we don't actually need to do it, and instead can just head straight back home to inform Chi-Chi and Goten. Back in the Otherworld, Goku is cleared by King Yama to return to Earth, and he leaves the fortune teller Baba. What's cool about this game is it ties in the story of the Fusion Reborn movie, so we get a brief cut to its story where the soul cleansing machine overflows and blows up, turning a demon into the giant yellow ogre Janemba. Starting chapter 3, we'll be moving on to the World Tournament. Gohan offers to train Goten, so we head into the forest to meet him there. Since Gohan already grinded out levels earlier, we can beeline straight to the level 65 gate at the end of the forest. Gohan will still need a ton of experience for other level doors, so it's worth it to take out any enemies he bumps into along the way. Upon finding Goten, Gohan will need to dodge rocks for a short period, and then towards the end of the minigame, Flint moves Gohan near Goten to get some quick blows on him after turning Super Saiyan. Meanwhile, Trunks can be seen training with Vegeta, who's completely caught off guard learning that not only Trunks can go Super Saiyan at such a young age, but Goten as well. Trunks begs to enter the World Tournament, and Vegeta will only let him if he can land a punch, which the TAS takes care of super quickly. At this point, we've only just now unlocked the ability to switch characters with the saving pads, but the only character we could even switch with would be Gohan. Next, we rush over to Bulma to attend the World Tournament. Goku is officially reunited with the squad, and the group heads inside for registration. Before heading to registration, Flint stops at a shop and buys some equipment upgrades, including leather gloves and moccasins for strength and speed boosts. Endurance and power stats don't impact the task significantly, since we'll rarely if ever be using any special moves, and of course a task could just avoid getting hit. After heading inside with both Gohan and Trunks, it's time for the punching machine test. For the task, it's fastest to hit A while the marker is close to the left side for a weak punch. If you max out the bar to the right side, Gohan will destroy the machine, and the additional dialogue would waste time. Inside, the Z Fighters are approached by the Supreme Kai and Kibito, and then shortly after are escorted to watch the juniors compete. As expected, it's pretty much a complete wash for Trunks up against normal human children, as he delivers lifelong physical trauma to each of his opponents. Because Trunks isn't leveled up yet, it does take him quite a few punches to clear each fight, so we see a similar strategy as Legacy of Goku 2, where you alternate from attacking up to down to keep the target from moving too far away. By the time we reach round 10, Trunks has had plenty of fighting to level up and dumps all of his points onto strength, which absolutely wipes out Goten. Initially, the two weren't supposed to go Super Saiyan during the tournament, but Goten blew his cover, so the two have one more showdown before crowning Trunks as the victor. Oh, and we'll need to land one more quick blow to Mr. Satan before moving to the main tournament. After watching some of the other competitors fight, instead of resuming as Gohan, we're going to play as Videl versus Popovich. Since Videl isn't leveled up at all, it's not uncommon to see people wipe here if the boss is able to land some clean combos off. And then, just like in the anime, Videl wins the fight and moves on to the next round. See, I told you she wouldn't get beat up again. With Videl now hospitalized, Gohan rushes to Korin for a Senzu Bean, but Goku offers to pick it up for him instead, so we resume playing as him. This is where the game starts to get really broken. First off, before leaving the island, Flint will head over to this fishing spot and perform RNG manipulation to guarantee 2 red snappers, the rarest fish you can catch. Red snappers are great because they can be traded to Korin, who we just so happen to be visiting anyways for holy water, which increases all stats by 30 points for 30 seconds, which is very overpowered. For comparison's sake, Super Saiyan only boosts stats by 6. After flying across the world map, we'll reach Kami's lookout and use the pad on the left side to reach Yajirobe and Korin. Yajirobe gives us a Senzu Bean for Videl, and Korin gives us holy water for the snappers. On the way out, Flint makes use of an instant transmission to reach the flight pad quicker, and during the animation, eats Videl's Senzu Bean. So when he arrives back to Gohan, I'm not exactly sure what he gives him, because we don't have anything. Goku just ate the Senzu Bean. So what happens is the game still takes the Senzu Bean away, causing an underflow to occur, giving us 255 Senzu Beans to use for the rest of the run. This is massively useful, as Senzu Beans can be used to maintain Super Saiyan status indefinitely, and you'll never be at risk of dying. Which is funny when compared to Legacy of Goku 2, as in that game there is so much randomness and stat spreads, and healing items are much more limited. So I guess if you're looking for a game to speedrun between the two, you would pick Legacy of Goku 2 for the inconsistent hard mode, and Buu's Fury for a slightly more consistent easy mode. Anyways, back at the World Tournament, Gohan is up against Kibito and begins showing off the powers of Super Saiyan 2 to him. During this, they're interrupted by Yamu and Spopovich, who storm the arena to capture Gohan. Flint makes use of double hits here and takes them out pretty quickly. During this fight, he'll mainly want to focus on doing the most damage to Spopovich, as Yamu has less health than him. Following the fight, the duo latches onto Gohan, stealing his energy. The two scurry off, and the Z Fighters, Supreme Kai, and Kibito follow closely behind, leading into Chapter 4. We'll start this chapter as Gohan, but we will need to switch to Goku to clear a level door ahead, which is why Flint got level 70 on him earlier. But there's a level 85 Gohan door coming up soon, so after opening this door, it's best to just go run back down to the save pad and switch back to Gohan. The enemies in this area are really good for training because they don't have super high HP and they give a ton of experience. This is actually where we'll see the first case of RNG manipulation for item drops from enemies. RNG in this game changes every single frame, which makes RNG manipulation relatively easy to execute in a TAS, assuming you can find the frames that have the exact items you're looking for. Flint uses this to his advantage to farm a whole bunch of items, starting with the 2-ton armbands. Next, he'll grab a Demon Mask and Reflective Gloves for a +7 and +3 strength boosts, respectively. Then a pair of 2-ton boots are grabbed to pair with the armbands. And he'll even pick up a Snorkel, which for some reason has a +8 strength bonus. Then he'll grab this Jade Keiko armor. And then finally he'll grab some sneakers to boost his speed stat to move faster. Most speedrunners would be lucky to get even a small handful of these items during a speedrun, but being able to utilize them all is what makes a task so insanely fast. Anyways, once all the items are obtained, the remainder time in this section will be spent farming enemies to get Gohan to level 85. I would not be surprised if a lot of people use this exact same spot to grind levels. At some point during the grind, Gohan's strength stat gets topped off, and with the combined strength of the Snorkel with Super Saiyan, he's able to hit in the thousands. Once finally reaching level 85, we'll proceed forward to Babidi's ship. Here we're introduced to Babidi and Dabura as they meet with the two henchmen to deliver Gohan's energy. The Z Fighters are spotted eavesdropping from above, and Dabura storms them, defeating Kibito and turning Krillin and Piccolo to stone. We'll head into the ship with Gohan and switch to Goku since we'll be needing to grind some levels on him for some doors and boss fights coming up. Goku is given the 2-ton armbands as well as the leather moccasins to offset the speed decrease from the armbands. After going Super Saiyan, Goku will traverse through the spaceship searching for 3 switches that all need to be hit in order to progress. You know, just like in the show. After finishing the first stage, the Z Fighters are confronted by Pui Pui, who informs them that Babidi is at the bottom of the ship, and each stage boss needs to be completed to reach him. Unfortunately for Pui Pui, this battle is a complete mismatch, and Vegeta takes him out in one hit. Following this fight, Flint will switch back into Goku and pump his strength level up, as well as give him a full heal with the Senzu Bean to reset his Super Saiyan status to use it for the rest of Stage 2. This stage is pretty much the same as the last, with Goku power leveling as he plows through mobs of enemies, but not all of them are required to be defeated, so Flint won't go for any that are too out of the way. Moving on to the Yakon boss fight, some creative liberties were made to facilitate gameplay. As in the show, Goku overpowers Yakon by making him absorb more energy than he can hold. But in the game, per usual, we just beat him up. This is actually one of the harder battles in the game, so Flint makes use of the Holy Water boost and tops off his stats and equipment to max out strength and make quick work of the boss, even through its block. What's interesting is if you do take too long to kill him, he'll hide in his hole and spawn smaller versions of himself, which is a video game exclusive ability. The next section is more of the same trekking through the ship as usual, but this time as Vegeta. It's not important to farm a lot of experience on him right now, so Flint only defeats enemies that are directly in front of him, while skipping the rest. After completing Stage 3, the Z-Fighters are confronted by Dabura. Gohan's strength is topped off, and he's equipped with leather gloves to allow for a pretty quick fight, since Dabura doesn't need to be finished off anyways. Following his fight, Vegeta becomes visibly upset that Gohan is struggling to defeat Dabura, and begins crashing out that this side quest is taking so long, as all he really wants to do is fight Goku. Dabura takes notice of this and pauses the battle to report this news to Babidi. The Supreme Kai eventually catches on to what is happening, but it's too late as Vegeta gives in to Babidi's magic. Majin Vegeta is created, and we're now onto Chapter 5. Babidi transports the fighters back to the World Tournament, where Mr. Satan can be seen celebrating his tournament win after paying off Android 18. Babidi attempts mind controlling Vegeta into killing his friends, but he refuses, as he's only focused on fighting Goku. Goku pushes back against the idea of them fighting, resulting in Vegeta throwing a ki blast, destroying a massive section of the stadium, killing tons of spectators, and he plans to continue on until Goku agrees to fight. We're transported to a desert where Babidi once again demands that Vegeta kills the Supreme Kai, but he ignores this command, and the battle between Goku and Majin Vegeta begins. Goku's strength is topped off, and he's equipped with strength and XP boosting equipment, and he starts wailing on Vegeta. He even still has the Super Saiyan status from the Yakon boss fight, so the damage output is pretty insane. After a few mid-fight cutaways, Majin Vegeta is defeated. Amidst their fight, enough energy was generated to awake Majin Buu, who tosses away Dabura with ease. Goku and Vegeta pause their fight as they sense Buu's energy, and Vegeta agrees to go deal with the monster, as Goku seems too distracted for a proper fight. But as Goku turns his back, he's knocked out by Vegeta, who decides to take on Buu alone to take responsibility for awakening him in the first place. But first, Vegeta destroys Babidi's ship, ensuring he's unable to escape Earth. Back at the battlefield, just before Buu is able to kill Gohan and the Supreme Kai, Dabura strikes back at Majin Buu, piercing him with a spear. However, this proves to be futile, as Buu's regeneration abilities heal him instantly, and he turns Dabura into a cookie, and eats him. Or I guess in this case, a cupcake? I guess a giant Dabura cookie just wasn't in the budget. Anyways, with Dabura slain, Krillin and Piccolo are broken from a spell. After destroying Babidi's ship, Vegeta confronts Buu. This fight can normally be pretty funny, with Buu being able to beam Vegeta into cupcakes and other sweets, and eating him to heal up. But of course we won't be seeing any of that in the TAS. For this fight, Buu is unable to take any damage until after Babidi lands on the ground, so Flint just has Vegeta chill in the corner, as Buu can't land his beam from this angle. Once Babidi lands, Vegeta takes him out and punches Buu into the nearby wall, trapping him until the fight is complete. Unfortunately, even after absolutely decimating Buu with TAS-like precision, Vegeta is defeated. Trunks and Goten storm the battlefield to Vegeta's aid, while Piccolo deals with Babidi. Afterwards, Vegeta knocks the kids unconscious and has Piccolo transport them away while he prepares for his final standoff against Buu. In attempts to overpower Buu's regenerative abilities, Vegeta uses a powerful attack called Final Explosion, creating a blast so powerful it takes his own life and blows Buu to pieces. Piccolo returns to the crater left by Vegeta and confronts what remains of Babidi, only for Majin Buu to completely regenerate before him and heals Babidi, leading us into Chapter 6. Back at the canyon, Goku reawakens and he isn't able to sense Vegeta nor Gohan's energy, but he is able to sense Buu. We'll use a nearby flight pad to meet up with Krillin and Piccolo at Kami's lookout to assess the situation. Why is Goku using flight pads again? Can't he teleport? Anyways, considering Majin Vegeta wasn't able to defeat Buu, and he was evenly matched with Goku, there's no way Goku would be able to take on Buu alone. Goku does float around the idea of fusion, but it's impossible now without Vegeta. That is unless it was performed by Goten and Trunks instead. But before we can get to that, Goku thinks it's a good idea for the boys to collect the Dragon Balls for after Buu is defeated, to wish back everyone that's died. It's worth mentioning that this section of the game never happened in the anime, and that the Dragon Balls were already collected by Bulma by this point, but this more so picks up with the events that occurred during the second Broly movie, and adds additional context to Goten and Trunks' Dragon Ball hunt. Playing as Goten, Flint runs over to the save pad, goes Super Saiyan, switches to Trunks, and leaves via the flight pad. From here, normally you're supposed to go to West City to grab the Dragon Radar from Bulma, but it isn't needed since the Dragon Balls have been loaded in since Chapter 1. It's just that we didn't have access to the characters for each of the levels containing them until now. The first location is an airship, which is a good starting location as there are no level doors present, so time can be spent here leveling up for some of the later areas. At this point, Trunks and Goten are extremely underleveled, but the robots on the ship grant a lot of experience, so no time will have to be wasted grinding for levels. The first part of the ship mostly consists of leveling up Trunks' strength. Again, any individual stat can only be as high as a character's current level, but since characters usually start with a low strength stat, leveling up means pretty rapid increases in strength. Pair that with the best in slot strength and speed equipment for each level milestone, and infinite Super Saiyan status with sensu beans, and it doesn't take too long before Trunks is one-shotting robots that initially took him 7 hits to defeat. Throughout the airship, Flint will manipulate a handful more items, including 10-ton weights and a kazoo, which community members assume wasn't coded correctly, since it's supposed to be a joke item that makes a sound effect for every attack. But apparently it also has the same experience multiplier as the 10-ton armbands. Just before confronting the airship captain, Flint will switch to Goten so we can get the experience from the boss fight. This is because Trunks is only needed to get to level 80 for this Dragon Ball quest, but Goten needs to be level 100. Also, it's a small thing, but by leveling up Goten on the boss with weighted boots, allows him to level up multiple times at once, skipping a handful of extra level up fanfares we'd otherwise need to sit through. After defeating the boss, a self-destruct timer activates, and we'll need to traverse all the way back through the ship from where we came. This is tedious, but Goten does need the levels anyways, so it isn't really a big deal. Eventually, Goten is able to level up so far, he's able to use an absolutely stacked lineup of the Jade Keiko, 2-ton armbands, sneakers, and of course a snorkel. Sneakers are super good to use here because their speed boost overcompensates for the armbands, allowing Goten to get the best of both worlds, fast movement and fast experience. Following this section, Flint stops at another airship to collect a bandana, which is required for another Dragon Ball. The next location on the list is Fukuro Forest, which is a ninja themed level and has some of the cleanest movement sections in the game. I know I've already mentioned it, but movement in this game is extremely tricky, especially when considering factors like sneakers and Super Saiyan status all stacked together. Watching the TAS initiate sprints instantly, take perfect angles, and switching directions frame perfectly, all with the speed boost, is very satisfying to watch. Following the forest is the Diablo Desert, which has another puzzle with switches hiding underneath these rocks. To a casual player, each load zone leads to a different part of the map, but the load zones are consistent, and of course the TAS is taking the most optimized route. Eventually Goten hops onto a moving train, stops an armed robbery, and is awarded another Dragon Ball. The next level, Pilaf's Castle, is pretty straightforward. This is another Trunks level that will be played through as Goten. While we can choose to go through the castle to reach Pilaf, Flint instead takes an alternate route around the castle, breaking some destructible walls to clear entry to the sewers, eventually leading to a backdoor entrance where Pilaf is waiting with his destroyer and Dragon Ball. Obviously this boss is taken out handily, as are most big body bosses that can be shoved into walls. Just before leaving, Flint grabs a Dragon Ball and Pilaf's gloves, which have both a strength and speed boost, and I guess they also increase money drops, not that it matters too much for this speedrun. Afterwards, Goten heads back the same way he came in. On the way out, Flint switches from Goten to Trunks to preserve his Super Saiyan status, since you're not able to have it activated while flying. The next level in the Kyodai Pyramid is pretty interesting strategy-wise. First off, as you could expect, Trunks is only used to open the level door, and Goten is used to complete the level. At this point in the run, Goten no longer needs to farm experience, and the weighted armbands are swapped out for Pilaf's gloves, allowing for extremely fast movement and high damage. At the entrance of the pyramid, we're stopped by a researcher who offers his Dragon Ball if he can rescue each of his friends trapped inside. What's interesting is in this pyramid there is normally another switch puzzle that needs to be completed, similar to the one in Babidi's ship, which leads to another puzzle with an invisible floor. The thing is, the exit to this invisible floor puzzle is already accessible and can be completed in reverse, saving a massive amount of time. I really would not be surprised if people figured this out during their casual playthroughs. This overly simplifies the level, and since at this point Goten is no longer in any need of experience gain, it's pretty much just a straight shot to the Pharaoh's chambers. But of course, after a classic switch puzzle. Interestingly, there are some hidden pathways you can walk over in this room, which I have no idea if they were put in intentionally, but the TAS will use them to save a bit of time. After entering the chamber, Totenhotep is awoken and promptly taken out in 3 hits. Flint then collects the Pharaoh's headdress, enters the treasure room, escorts out the final scientist, and collects the Ox King hat from one of the chests, which is one of the best strength boosting equipment in the game, and it doesn't even require an RNG rule to collect. Goten then heads back through the previous maze section and falls down it on purpose to place him closer to the exit, and the Dragon Ball is collected. Upon leaving, Flint switches back to Trunks to preserve Goten's Super Saiyan status again as we fly overseas to the Thieves' Den. This is the level where a bandana is required to enter the den itself. There's not too much to point out here. Goten sneaks into the den, steals their Dragon Ball, and heads out. At this point, I'm not sure if anyone was keeping track, but following this level, we're now onto the 7th and final Dragon Ball. After collecting the 6th ball and using a flight pad, a cutscene is initiated where Trunks and Goten are fighting over the Dragon Ball scatter, as it isn't displaying the location of the final ball. Probably because we never even grabbed the scatter from Bulma in the first place. The two fight over the scatter before dropping into a village down below, which also happens to be where the final Dragon Ball is located. How convenient. The duo stumbles across a priest with a 4-star ball around his neck and says he'll give up the ball if they defeat a monster that's been attacking the village. Flint equips Goten with the fastest and strongest equipment and begins dashing through hordes of enemies, only taking out enemies that are directly in the path and likely to hit Goten. After several loading screens, Goten eventually reaches his volcano where the monster is located. Along the way, he'll perform RNG manipulation once again to collect 20-ton armbands off a mummy. Again, there's not too much to point out here, as pretty much all combat is skipped, and Goten beelines towards the volcano summit. Upon reaching the summit, the duo isn't greeted by any ordinary monster, but actually the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, who was recently awoken. But with strength maxed out and maxed out equipment, Goten absolutely smokes him in the 1v1, despite Broly's best efforts to block his punches. Rather than transporting us away from the volcano after the fight, the devs decided to give us a scenic route, requiring running all the way back to the village from where we came. After speaking with the priest, he claims that he was only joking when offering the ball, and didn't think the two would actually defeat the monster. But after some convincing negotiation skills by Trunks, he forks over the ball, and the Dragon Ball chapter is completed. The next chapter starts out with the crew summoning Shenron to revive everyone that was killed due to Babidi. You know, excluding the bad guys of course. Goku senses this and teleports in, preventing any additional wishes from happening so they can save them for later. While at Kami's outlook, Babidi telecommunicates to the entire world that he's seeking retribution for Trunks, Goten, and Piccolo interfering with his plans, and any and all suffering that occurs is their responsibility. In the blink of an eye, Buu sets fire to an entire city. In the meantime, Goku and Piccolo teach Goten and Trunks how to perform fusion, as Goku believes a fusion form has the potential to defeat Buu. When performing fusion in this game, a button combination appears that needs to be executed to pull it off, but there's also a master code combination that always works, which we can see the TAS use here. Afterwards, Babidi is tipped off from one of Trunks' competitors in the tournament that he lives at the Capsule Corporation, so Buu and Babidi announce that they're heading there to attack his family. Goku decides it's best that he goes and takes on Buu, while Trunks finds the Dragon Radar at the Capsule Corp. We're just gonna pretend like that entire Dragon Ball side quest that was shoehorned into the game didn't happen. Anyways, Goku's stats are topped off, and he's equipped with his classic fit of leather attire and a snorkel. Rather than using instant transmission to get to West City, we instead use it to reach a flight pad, and then fly to West City. Goku confronts Babidi and warns him about Goten and Trunks, who are currently preparing to fight Buu. But Babidi has no reason to wait for them, and threatens to blow up Capsule Corp. Goku ascends to Super Saiyan 3, and the battle against Buu commences. With how big Buu is, it's pretty simple to punch him back and forth perpetually, assuming a crit doesn't push him too far away, and Babidi can be used to block his path. Following the fight, Goku powers down and tells Buu that their fight is done for now, but that soon the others would be ready to take him on. Just before leaving, Goku remarks that Buu is so strong, he really has no need to take orders from Babidi, which seems like something Buu hadn't considered yet. Following a slew of insults from Babidi, Buu has enough and kills them. Back at the lookout, Trunks and Goten undergo fusion training. During the session, Goku's time on Earth runs out, and fortune teller Baba takes him back to the Otherworld. The boys attempt fusion once again, but this time it's a success, and Gotenks is born. Overconfident with his new abilities, he storms off to confront Buu alone before even mastering Super Saiyan as a fusion. This is the second time we'll see a special ability used by a character, where Gotenks turns Buu into a ball to more easily push him into a corner to punch him to death. Ultimately, Gotenks loses the battle and retreats back to Kami's lookout to get reprimanded by Piccolo, who says no fighter has ever won a fight using his fists alone. I guess he hasn't been paying attention for the entire run. Moving on to Chapter 8, we get to play as the most overpowered character in the game, Mr. Satan, who agrees to take on Majin Buu. Mr. Satan approaches his living quarters and is jump scared by Buu. He attempts to trick Buu by feeding him a bomb, but all this does is build rapport with Buu, and he begins to like Mr. Satan. As the boys continue training, we'll switch back to the Otherworld to Goku and Vegeta dealing with the monster Janemba. As a result of Janemba's carnage, souls are scattered in disarray, and King Yama is trapped in a giant jelly bean. Goku agrees to help out, but isn't going to be able to take on Janemba alone, so he heads to HFIL to recruit Vegeta into helping him. Here we'll need to train Goku somewhat, but not so much that weighted equipment is necessary, so he's given as much speed boost equipment as possible. The goals around here give tons of XP, and grant Goku a level up each kill. In this section of the game we'll see instant transmission used a lot in order to hit switches. Also, now that Goku has Super Saiyan 3 unlocked, Flint is able to make use of it in this section of the game, despite the fact that Super Saiyan 3 status degrades extremely quickly. But it makes sense to use in the TAS since it's able to utilize the status much more effectively with perfect movement. Also, anytime Goku runs low on his meter, Flint opens up the menu to top off his strength and eats the Senzu bean to replenish. Along the way, he also RNG manipulates a pair of 20-ton boots and armbands. Moving on, there will be a maze that needs to be completed, but there's a pretty silly skip that can be performed here instead. Moving Goku into the upper right corner hits a trigger that causes the rock blocking progression to become destructible, and it doesn't actually need to be destroyed from behind. This allows Goku to break it early and skip majority of the puzzle. In this area, Goku also collects the nearby chest, giving him a Doom Amulet, which grants a plus 10 strength bonus. With this skip included, the trip to finding Vegeta is cut pretty short. After Vegeta reunites with the party, we pan back to Mr. Satan, who is spending time with Buu, who finds an injured puppy and heals its broken leg. Throughout his life, Buu has only been told to kill and destroy, but Mr. Satan manages to convince him that killing is bad and wrong, and he agrees to never do it again. Back at HFIL, Flint switches to Vegeta and equips him with the usual weighted equipment and sneaker combo for a quick level grind. Again, the enemies in this section give a ton of XP, especially with weighted equipment, so the levels begin rolling in quickly, and not before long, Vegeta is one-shotting everything. After making our way back to the start of the area, Vegeta is leveled up to level 100 without having to go out of the way killing any extra enemies, and the level door is opened. Pikkon is found unconscious, and we switch back to Goku, who still has Super Saiyan 3 status active. With this status stacked with all of the most optimal strength equipment, the first form of Janemba is taken out in 8 attacks. Janemba transforms into Super Janemba, and Vegeta is subbed in to fight. Following this fight, the duo realizes they aren't going to be able to beat Janemba without fusing, so they perform the fusion dance to create Gogeta. Normally Goku is supposed to release the Super Saiyan status in order to fuse, but if he was in Super Saiyan 3 status before this, an extra Super Saiyan 3 Goku will remain on the battlefield for some reason, which is pretty funny, and following the ass whooping from Gogeta, you can even see the Goku clone move around a bit before leaving the area. After returning to King Yama, he thanks Goku for taking care of Janemba, and also explains that Gohan hasn't checked into the Otherworld, meaning he is still alive somewhere. Back on Earth, Mr. Satan is shot by 2 men who are taking advantage of the chaos going on in the world to commit crimes. While Mr. Satan is brought back to life, Buu becomes enraged. In order to maintain control, he expels the evil within himself in the form of Evil Buu. While the two are evenly matched, Buu gets desperate and attempts to turn him into candy, only for the beam to get deflected back at him, and he's consumed, moving us on to Chapter 9, Super Buu. In the Otherworld, Goku realizes he can sense Gohan's energy, and discovers that he's on the Supreme Kai's planet, so he teleports over there. Gohan can be found training with the Kais using the Z-sword he pulled from the ground, with TAS level button mashing. In an attempt to test his proficiency with the sword, Goku throws a series of different objects at him to hit, including a giant rock, as well as a block of the strongest metal in the universe called Kachin. The Kachin ends up breaking the Z-sword, releasing an Elder Kai from 15 generations ago. The Kai at first isn't interested in helping train Gohan, but after Goku promises him a fair blue-haired lady that also happens to be a good kisser, he obliges. Back at Kami's lookout, Super Buu arrives as he now has the ability of sensing Ki, and he comes to challenge Gotenks. He seems impatient as he's shown up now rather than the couple of days they had agreed upon, and there's only an hour left to train. The duo heads into the hyperbolic time chamber to make the most out of this hour, as 6 hours within the chamber is equivalent to 1 minute on the outside. As for gameplay, this results in a quick sparring match between the two. After only waiting 30 minutes, Super Buu becomes irate, and the kids are forced to end their training early and fuse into Gotenks to fight him. Using the ball to trap Super Buu into the corner, he's beaten up quickly in only a few hits, as the power creep in this game only gets more absurd. In an attempt to make for a more suspenseful fight, Gotenks pretends they're all out of strength and can no longer continue fighting, prompting Piccolo to destroy the time chamber, locking them all inside. After realizing he'll never get to eat candy or chocolate again, Super Buu has a crash out so insane that it creates a rip in the fabric of space and time, and he manages to escape out the portal. He then proceeds to kill everyone on the lookout, with the exception of Dende to preserve the Dragon Balls. In order to recreate the vibrations Buu made to create the portal, Gotenks goes Super Saiyan 3 and opens up a portal of their own to escape. After returning to the lookout, Gotenks battles Buu, and the fight is so intense the entire lookout nearly gets destroyed. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is so powerful that this fight ends in only 2 critical hits. Buu is then flying into a crater below, and Gotenks continues his beatdown of him, finishing the fight off with one massive opening. But just before finishing the final blow, Gotenks' power runs out, and the fusion ends, as Buu has plenty of time to replenish his health and fully recover. Trunks couldn't put it any better. They're cooked. Meanwhile, Gohan's training seems to have been successful. Well, I mean in the context of the story, it for sure was, but in the context of the game he's definitely weaker, but I'll elaborate on that later. As Gohan's training is completed, he's transported back to Earth, and we head out to confront Buu. The training Gohan goes through levels him up to level 110, so Flint spends a bit of time upgrading his stats and equipment. Goten and Trunks are backed into a corner, and Gohan flies in just the nick of time. Gohan overpowers Super Buu with ease. Super Buu, realizing he stands no chance, begins powering up and explodes in an attempt to take out the fighters. The gang escapes with a new mission of finding Dende to ensure they're able to use the Dragon Balls. Along the way they bump into Mr. Satan. Then before we can proceed through the rest of the game, we'll need to do one last level grinding section, this one being the longest of them all. Luckily Flint has best in slot armbands, sneakers, and the kazoo for the best combination of speed and experience modifiers. The problem, however, like I mentioned before, Gohan is actually nerfed for this level grind, as he can now no longer turn Super Saiyan, and as a result loses out on the speed and damage buffs that come with the status. So much for being ascended. The current world record gets through this level grind in about 6 minutes, whereas the TAS finishes it in only 3, just to show how beneficial perfect movement, attacks, and equipment can be. Also during this level grind, including Goku's coming up, Flint will RNG manipulate 100-ton weights as well as even more strength boosting equipment for later on. Once Gohan reaches level 140, he can clear the level door, and with all his strength equipment on, his strength status boosted to a massive 189. After heading through the door, Buu is confronted once again. Although Gohan would like to finish the fight himself, Goten and Trunks are baited into fusion, and Gotenks and Piccolo are subsequently absorbed by Buu, giving him the strength of Gotenks and the intellect of Piccolo. Gohan fights valiantly against the upgraded Buu, but even with TAS precision, he's not enough and is promptly defeated. Goku can sense all this happening from the planet of the Kais, and is gifted the Elder Kai's life, as well as the Potara earrings to fuse with Gohan. Gohan is given his earring, but accidentally drops it. Gohan does manage to find it, but just before he can put it on, he is absorbed by Buu as well, creating the strongest form of Buu yet. Overconfident with his new abilities, Buu allows Goku to fuse with someone before they battle, but the only people nearby are Mr. Satan and Dende. Just before he gives Mr. Satan the earring, Vegeta appears as King Yama allows him to revisit Earth to avoid Buu killing everyone. Goku attempts to convince Vegeta to perform the fusion, but he wants nothing to do with him and flies off to deal with Buu alone in typical Vegeta fashion. Also in typical Buu's Fury fashion, even though Goku literally teleported over to Vegeta to find him, I guess he can't just teleport back, and the final level grind begins to open a level door. With access to Super Saiyan 3 and the best items in the game, this level grind takes just shy of 4 minutes to complete, with the current world record taking about 5.5. Once the level 140 door is opened, we're now on to chapter 10. Goku and Vegeta take on Buu in this unique fight where Goku uses instant transmission to knock Buu off platforms, and Vegeta hits him during the openings. What's funny is it's actually possible to soft lock the game by hitting Buu and having him completely miss the wall. But after 3 rotations of doing this, Goku realizes they have no chance of defeating him like this, and is able to convince Vegeta to put his Saiyan pride to the side to accept fusing with him. Despite learning that the fusion is permanent, Vegeta agrees. Vegito is born. Vegito is easily the most fun character to play as, with some of the coolest special moves, and of course speed and strength. But of course we won't get to see most of this, as his flurry of melee attacks absolutely decimates Buu. And then of course, just before Buu is defeated, he absorbs Vegito. Apparently this was done on purpose, as Vegito protected himself with an energy barrier to prevent himself from being absorbed, and attempts to save everyone absorbed by Buu from the inside. As the barrier drops, Vegito's fusion is cancelled, and Vegeta destroys the earrings to avoid ever being fused to Goku again. The rest of this section is spent traversing through Buu's body to reach Buu's absorbed victims. Flint instantly switches to Goku, who has maintained his Super Saiyan 3 status since before the fusion occurred, and of course still has all of his equipment, allowing for speedy movement throughout the stomach. Again, levels are no longer required by this point, so although there are some blood cell enemies floating around, they can all be avoided. This section also includes one of the biggest skips in the entire run, called Switch Skip. Flint performs this by saving at the save pad and reloading the game to reset the blood cell RNG. The fact we haven't leveled up Goku's power at all turns out to be a good thing, as his Ki Blasts only do a little bit of damage, as Flint uses them to push the blood cell behind this door, and then uses instant transmission to reach a load trigger. This skips several loading zones, a cutscene, hitting 3 switches, and any backtracking. Afterwards, normally we need to fight off illusions of the fighters that were absorbed by Buu, but apparently there are small gaps in the invisible wall blocking progression, and the Gotenks and Piccolo fights can be skipped completely. Not that it matters entirely, as even the required Gohan fight is dealt with in only a few hits. As Buu realizes what's happening within him, he sends a mental image of himself within his brain to fight Goku and Vegeta. But hilariously, this fight can be skipped as well by positioning Goku near the exit and purposefully getting turned to a piece of candy. After Buu picks him up to eat him, this places Goku into the loading zone to play the next cutscene. Next, Vegeta threatens to release a good Buu that's trapped inside, but Super Buu starts freaking out that if he does this, he won't be himself anymore. Vegeta assumes he's bluffing and releases Good Buu only to initiate Buu's final transformation. The duo escorts her sons and Piccolo to safety and return to find Kid Buu, leading to Chapter 11. As it turns out, Kid Buu is Buu's original form, with the Fat and Jolly formation being a result of Kid Buu absorbing a Kai named Akaio. So by them removing Good Buu from his body, turn Buu back to a ruthless, killing machine. At this point, the game recommends the player to train up before confronting Kid Buu at the Wastelands, but trust me, we've spent plenty of time training, let's go take him on. Upon returning, Kid Buu's wrath is unleashed as he causes a massive explosion that destroys the Earth, with Goku and Vegeta unable to save anyone else other than Mr. Satan, Dende, and Buu's dog Bee. As we learned before, Buu is able to regenerate after blowing up, and after doing so, begins going on a crusade through the universe destroying planets, searching for the Saiyans. The only way they can prevent him from continuing is to lure him to the Kai's planet to take him head on. After a decisive rock-paper-scissors battle, Goku wins and takes on Kid Buu. Goku, who is enraged while battling the monster that destroyed his friends, family, and planet, ascends to Super Saiyan 3 to fight Buu. While Goku fights valiantly, he is no match for Kid Buu, who seems to have infinite strength and energy. This doesn't stop Vegeta from butting in and attempting to take him on himself. This is where the final Holy Water will come into play, since Vegeta is severely underleveled for this fight, and also isn't in Super Saiyan status, resulting in what feels like the longest battle in the run so far. Even then, this only diminishes Kid Buu's health bar by 50%. Vegeta is beaten down, and Goku takes over for him, resulting in one of my favorite moments in DBZ, where Vegeta remarks on just how amazing Goku is, that no matter what the challenge is, even when it's bigger than anything they've ever been up against, he still fights. Switching back to Goku, we fight Kid Buu again, whose health bar is completely replenished. The TAS positions Kid Buu into a corner where he can be wailed on indefinitely until his health is lowered and Goku's energy is expended. The Super Saiyan 3 status tires him down dramatically, so he requests that Vegeta stalls Kid Buu for a moment while he recuperates. Of course, Flint decides to spend this minute in style, hitting some pretty sick dance moves before moving Vegeta back to the center. Just before Vegeta gets hit with a massive energy blast, Mr. Satan steps in and challenges Kid Buu to fight the world champion instead. For some reason, Kid Buu isn't attacking Mr. Satan, the reason being Good Buu is still absorbed within him before being spat out. Kid Buu attacks Mr. Satan, somehow not killing him instantly, and Good Buu steps in to fight. Meanwhile, Goku still hasn't recuperated, so Vegeta commands the Kais and Dende to go to New Namek to gather their Dragon Balls. Luckily, upon arrival, the Dragon Balls were already collected, and Porunga is summoned to resurrect Earth, as well as everyone that was killed by Buu. You know, other than the evil people. Vegeta's plan is to collect energy from Earth's inhabitants to create a spirit bomb to defeat Kid Buu. Vegeta calls out to the people of Earth for their energy, but other than people who know Vegeta, nobody is willing to give up their energy for somebody as abrasive as Vegeta. As Vegeta and Goku attempt to collect more energy, Good Buu is defeated, and Vegeta enters the fray and hides behind the spirit bomb, hoping Kid Buu doesn't see him. Goku also attempts to extract energy from Earth's people, but amidst his frustration, he comes off too insulting for people to help. But then miraculously, Mr. Satan steps in lambasting people for not helping, despite how many times he's apparently saved the world. This works like a charm, and the spirit bomb is finally at full power. Mr. Satan steps in to save an unconscious Vegeta, and Goku sends a spirit bomb. Buu begins pushing back, so we're going to need to rely on some S-tier button mashing to overpower him. And just like that, despite being blown up at least a half dozen times at this point, the spirit bomb apparently does just the trick, and he's no longer able to regenerate, and Kid Buu is officially defeated. While you would assume this to be the end of the run, the credits still aren't rolling yet. Following Buu's defeat, Goku can be found flying on the Overworld map, and he heads to Capsule Corp in West City to initiate the final chapter of the game. 6 months following the events of Buu, everyone meets at Capsule Corp for a cookout. Then we fast forward 10 years ahead, seeing how the world has changed since the events of Buu. Gohan and Videl have a child named Pan, who will be entering the world tournament, fighting against adults. Goten and Trunks are all grown up, and also forced by their fathers to enter the tournament too. Mr. Saiyan and Buu remain good friends, as they collude to rig the tournament so Mr. Saiyan can win again. During the tournament selection, a fighter named Oob is selected to fight against Goku, who is a human reincarnation of Kid Buu that King Yama created. Goku sees a lot of potential in Oob, and decides to live in his village to train him so that he can battle him properly one day, and hopefully later on become Earth's new protector. They leave the tournament together, thus completing the run. Anyways guys, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to leave a like to show support. Initially I was planning on doing a live commentary of this game, but I love this game so much, I just had to make a video of it. If it weren't for some of the long grinding sections and RNG requirements, I probably would have ran it myself, but alas, I do not need any more insane speedrun RNG in my life. With that being said, special thanks to Flint829 for not only making this task, but helping me with information regarding it, as well as Glitch for helping me understand some of the version differences between this game and the rest of the series. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. Make sure to subscribe for more speedrunning related content, and as always, I hope you all have a beautiful life.